Hi, this is a webinar on how to create a custom transcript using the Custom Reports tool in the ThinkWave system. Building a custom report can be complex with all the variables you can utilize, but if you follow along with this video, it'll make more sense as the transcript starts to take shape. First, we'll go into the Reports tab. And under Custom Reports, click Add Report. Here you can create a number of reports from these templates, or from previous year reports if you have them. For this, we're going to create a report from scratch, so click Create New Report at the top. The first tool for customizing the report is the Layout Designer. This allows you to decide how you want the report to be laid out. The report is divided into 12 segments, both horizontally and vertically. Both have to add up to 12. We'll get to that more in a second. Another tool is the Widget Designer, which can be reached by hovering here. The widgets are the content that fills the information in the report. We'll get to the creation and the use of widgets in a second. Here you have the title of the report. We'll call this Custom Transcript. And here you can decide how to organize it either as one student per page, which is the most common use, or you can select to have it be a single multi-page report, which would be useful if you have a report that displays info on multiple students or whole classes. Then here you can decide if you want the report to be displayed in either a portrait or landscape. Here you can customize the rows and the cells that make up the report. You can also have as many pages as you need. The rows determine the vertical layout of the report, where the cells make up the horizontal layout of the report. And the cells are where you put the widgets to display the information of the report. Here you can select how much of the page you want the row to make up. For instance, you can have this first cell for the header, which will take up 4/12 of the page. Then you can customize how many cells you want in that first row. The cells always have to add up to 12. So for the header, we'll create its own widget. So we only need one cell. By default, the system has 2 cells divided into 6 each. Make the first cell 12 and the second cell 0, which will prompt you to delete it. Here are the formatting options for each row. Here you can add the padding to the top, right, left, and bottom. We'll add 4 for the top, 5 for the left, and 5 for the right. Then click Save. Now we're going to add some widgets. Hover over here and go to the Widget Designer. Since this is the first time, it'll automatically create the first widget. Here you enter the name. We'll call it Header. And here you select which type of widget you want. You have a choice between table, text, image, column, row, term cycler, class cycler, period cycler, students in group and class cycler, skill cycler, assignment cycler, assignment type cycler, and distributor. For now, we'll select the row. Then here you can select where you want to save the widget to. You can either save it to this report, or if you plan on using the same widget for other reports, you can save it to the widget library. Then click Save. The row widget organizes different widgets horizontally. It must add up to 12. We're going to need 3 widgets, one for the school logo, then one for the school address, and finally the date. Then select 2 width for the first logo, then 6 for the address, and finally 4 for the date. The school logo is a default widget, so you can select it directly from this pull-down menu here. And for the other 2, select a blank cell. As long as you have a logo in the system, it'll pull it automatically. You can check by opening up another tab in ThinkWave.com and go to the Setup tab. Then under Report, click Logo. Here you can upload a school logo. It must be a JPEG. Let's go back to the row widget, then click Save. Now click on Add Widget at the top left. Name this School Address and select a table. Then click Save. The table widget is the foundation for the custom reports. You can either enter the text directly here into the cells, or use the merge functions which automatically pull data. We'll get to that more in a second. Here you have the name, and here you select the max columns. Since the cells have to add up to 12, if you need more flexibility, like for instance if you have more columns than 12, you can add more here. If you select times 2, it divides the columns up by 24, times 3 to 36, etc., all the way up to times 5. Here you select the number of columns you need. We're going to select 1, and here you select the number of rows. We'll leave that at 4. And here you can select if you want to always include rows, skip rows if any merge field is blank, or skip row if all merge fields are blank. That'll make more sense in a moment. Here you can select the default text style. You have a choice between body, large, or small, H1 through H5, which is bold for headers, or a selection of inverse. Alignment allows you to choose between left, right, or center, with extra options for top or bottom. The row height allows you to customize the row height, and the grid allows you to select if you want grid lines between the cells. You have a selection of different line weights. And here you have wrapping. If the text overflows the cell width, you can choose between wrap, do not wrap, or truncate. Here we have border options, and here we have cell padding. Down here you have the cells. Select 12 for the first column and 0 for the other columns. Here at the right, you have more formatting options that affect just that row. And down here you have formatting options that affect just that column. Now click Save. Now we'll add the school address info. We're going to use some merge functions for this. The instructions for merge functions can be found below here. And here you have the name, the description, the variables available, and a sample. We're going to use the merge functions for the school name. So scroll down here. And here it is, school. Now copy and paste it into the first cell. Now go back down and find the merge functions for school address, then city, state, and postal code, and finally, the school phone number. When you're done, it should look like this. Now click Save. Now click Add Widget at the top left. And for this, we're going to call it Date. And make it a table. Make it one column and one row, and make it right justified. Now go down and find the merge function for user date. And over here on the right, there's a variation. Copy the base merge function and paste it into the cell. Now let's go back down and copy the variation and paste it inside the brackets. Before you do that, type in a pipe. This must always separate the base merge function from the variables. Then after the colon, type in report_date. You always must have an underscore rather than a space. Now click Save. Now let's go back to the header row. Add the school info into the middle, then the date into the right. Now click Save. Now we're going to preview this. Go back to the Layout Designer and add the header widget into the cell. Go back to the Other tab in ThinkWave.com and go to the Reports tab. Then under Custom Reports, click Custom Transcript. Here you'll have to select the report date. Then select a student and click Generate. As you can see, the logo looks fine, but the school's name should be a little larger. So let's go back to the School Address Widget tab. And for the school name, select a heading of 1, or H1. Then click Save. Now go back to the Other tab and select Configure at the top left. Now select a student and click Generate again. Now you can see the school name is now too large compared to the rest of the address. Go back to the widget, change the school address and the rest of the lines to H2. Once you made all the changes, select Save. Now go back and preview it again. Now the address is displaying fine, but it's still a little too high. So go back to the layout and add some padding to the address line. Let's say 2. Now go back and let's check it. Now it's starting to look right. Since the Reports tool is so customizable, it can take time to tweak it and modify it, so you get it just the way you want it. I find it's easier to think of it like a puzzle, constantly having to try pieces, modifying them, and going back and forth. It can be work, but in the end, you're rewarded with a stellar-looking custom transcript. Now we're going to go back to the layout page and create a main body for the transcript. For this, we're going to want to create 2 columns, where the grades will be displayed on the left-hand side of the body and then continue on the right column. To do this, we're going to create a new row. Below the header, click Add Row. We'll have it, say, take up 8/12 of the page. That's the rest of the page. Any of this can be modified at any time. Since we want to have 2 columns, we'll create 2 cells. For the first cell, we'll put in a width of 6. Then for the next cell, we'll also make that a width of 6. Now we'll put the grades in the first cell and have it continue to the second cell, so we'll want the second cell to have an overflow from the previous cell. You can select that from the pull-down menu here. As you can see, there's an ID code for each cell. Enter the ID code from the first cell into the window here on the second cell, and now any overflow data will automatically be added to the second cell. This also works to have data overflow to the next page. Now click Save. Now we'll need to create widgets to tell it what to display. For a transcript like this, we're typically going to want to display the name of the course, the grade a student got, and the credit the students earned. Hover here and go to the Widget Designer. Then click Add Widget at the top left. We'll call this Class Cycler and select a Class Cycler widget. This is also used for a lot of report cards. Leave the settings in default for now, then click Save. Now we'll have to tell the Class Cycler what to display. Now we'll need another widget, so click on Add Widget. Let's call it Grades Row, and for this one we'll use a table. Now down here in the first cell, we're going to want to have the name of the class, then the grades, and then finally the credits earned. To add this information, we're going to want to use the merge functions again. So go down here, and there's a command for class. Then for final grade, it's simply called final grade. And then finally the credits. We'll go down here and copy the command for credits earned. And since we only need 1 row, we'll change the number of rows to 1. Now let's make the class column 8, and then the grades and credits 2 each. And center the grades and credits in the columns here. Then click Save. Now let's create a header for the classes and grades. Since we'll use the same layout as the grades row, click Clone here at the top right. Rename it Grades Header and replace the class's merge function by typing in course. Now do the same for grades and credits. And make the whole thing H3. This is like bolding it so it stands out. Then click Save. Now we'll go back to the Class Cycler widget. At the bottom here, we'll add the grades row. Now we're going to need a term widget that cycles through every term a student has. We'll call this Term Cycler, and select Term Cycler for the widget type. And this will cycle through all the terms that a student has. Since we want all the terms that a student has, we'll select the transcript terms, all terms in a student's academic history for term scope. Now here we have the ability to display the transfer history. We can choose not to show the transfer history, show it at the beginning, which would be the most common. We can display it at the end or show only the transfer history. And here you have the filter by grade level. For instance, if you don't want to show anything earlier than 9th grade, or tag terms to include or not include, we'll leave these at the default for now. And here at the bottom, we'll add the grades header widget, and underneath it, add the class cycler. When you're done, click Save. The constant tweaking here and there allows you to fully customize it without worrying about making mistakes, because you can always go back and fix it. Now, let's go back to the layout and add the term cycler to the first cell of the main body. Then click Save. Now let's preview it. Go back to the other tab, select a student, and click Generate. As you can see now, it's displaying the classes, grades, and the credits, but it's all kind of jumbled together and there's no way to tell between the school years. It looks a little confusing. So let's go back and customize the way it displays to make it look a bit nicer and to make the information a bit clearer. Let's create a new widget to display a term and year. Create a new table widget and name it Term and Year, then click Save. Make it one column and one row. Then make it H3 so it stands out a bit. Now scroll down and find the merge function for term. Here it is. Copy and paste it into the cell. Then add a space and a dash and another space. Then go down and find the merge function for year. Here it is. Copy and paste it into the cell. Now click Save. Now go back to the Term Cycler widget and let's put in the new term and year header we just created. Click Add Widget at the bottom here. Then drag it above the grades header. Now click Save and let's preview it. There's still a few things to tweak, like the first semester is a little too close to the left, so we'll need to go back and add a little padding here. Let's go back and fix that. Now let's go back to the term row. Let's add a little padding to the left and see how it looks. Now that looks better. Now let's break up the two columns so it's not one solid line. Let's go back to the layout. And here for the two column cells, let's put in a little padding on the right. And for this one, let's put in a little padding on the left. Now let's see how it looks. Okay, now it's looking a little cleaner. But now we want to add a little padding to the grades row, so let's do that. This is how it works with the Reports tool. You'll need to go back and forth constantly tweaking it to get it just the way you want it to look. But with a little patience and work, you can get the reports looking exactly the way you want them to look. Let's see how that lines up now. Okay, now it lines up. Now, let's say you want to include a total credits earned for each term. Let's add the widget for that. We'll call it Total Credits for Term, and then make it a table. We only need one row for this. Align it to the right. Then here we'll need a merge function. So let's go down and find where we can display the total credits earned. And here we have a merge function for credits earned. And here in the cell, type in total credits. Now let's add that to the term cycler. We're going to want a little extra space here, so let's add a single space at the bottom. So add new widget, add the total credits widget here, then the single space. And now let's see how that looks. And now we have the total credits for each term. But it's still looking a little crowded, so let's add a little right padding so it's right justified. There, that looks much better. Since most transcripts will have a total credits and GPA at the end, let's add that now. To do that, we're going to have to go back and create a column widget to organize the widgets in. So click Add Widget, and we'll call this Transcript Body Column. Then select Column and save. And now with this, we can stack the widgets from top to bottom. And what we're going to need here is the term cycler on top with the total credits on the bottom. But first, we'll need to create the total credits widget. So let's call it Total Credits and Overall GPA, then make it a table. We're only going to need 2 columns and 2 rows, but remember, the columns have to add up to 12. So we'll make the first one 4 and the second one 8. Now for the first cell, let's call it Total Credits. And for the one below it, Overall GPA. Now let's find the merge function for each one. For the first one, here's the credits earned cumulative. And for the GPA, here's the GPA cumulative. Now select Save. Now, let's go back to the column, and we'll want to add this to the end. So we'll have the term cycler first, the total credits and overall GPA widget. And now we'll have to go back to the layout and replace the term cycler with the column we just created. Sometimes a transcript will overflow to more than one page. So for that instance, we can go back to the layout and add another row. You can make it dynamic, so it makes it go from page to page. Then the cell would overflow from the transcript body column. But you'd want to take it from the overflow column, so it would continue smoothly. Then select Omit Row if there's no data. Now let's go see how it looks. And there's the cumulative credits and the GPA at the bottom by adding it to the terms. Now let's say we want to add some information from the custom field after the credits and GPA, such as degree earned. Let's add a new table widget. We only need 1 row and 2 columns. Let's make the second column an 1/8 width, which would make the other one 4. For the first cell, we'll type in degree earned. For the second one, we'll need to put in a custom merge field. This will come from a custom field from a student's tab. So here we have the custom field student. There's also custom field class if the information is relevant to the class as a whole. Let's copy the modifier example, and we'll customize it for our use. And here we'll replace date of birth with degree earned. Now click Save and go back to the transcript body column. And add a new widget and select the newly created custom field for the degree earned. Now let's go back to the reports generator. And now we have a new pull-down menu for degree earned, but we still have to create a custom field for the degree earned. To do this, go to the Students tab, and at the top right, click here and select New Custom Field. Name it Degree Earned. Have it apply to all students and select Save. We go into more detail on creating custom fields in another video. Now that it's created, enter the relevant information that would be added, such as high school diploma. And go back to the reports generator. And from the new pull-down menu, select Degree Earned. Now select the student that you just added that information to and click Generate. Now you can see underneath the overall GPA there's a new field for degree earned. Now let's say we see something here like a percent grade that has been rounded to 4 digits, and we want it to round only 1 digit. So let's go back to the grades row widget, and we can modify the different commands. So for final grades, let's go down here and see the different modifiers. There's a sample here on the right of how it's used. So for this case, you'll want to round to 1 digit. So let's copy the command modifier where it says round, 0. Make sure you include the pipe. Then take it back to the Final Grades tab. Add it to the end of the command line like this, while replacing the 0 with 1. Then click Save. And let's see how it looks. There we are, the percent is now rounded to 1 digit. Now let's go to the body of the transcript. Now that the body of the transcript is done, let's add the principal signature line at the bottom. Let's go back to the layout and add one more row. We'll make it 2/12 of the page. We'll need the cell to be the full width. For now, it'll be blank cell. Click Save and let's create a new widget to put in it. Let's call this widget Principal Signature and make it a table. Make it 1 column and 1 row. Then type in Principal Signature with a colon and put it in a line. Now align it to the center and click Save. Now let's go back to the layout and add it to the bottom. And let's see how it looks. Now that looks good. A few other customizations that you can make if you go back to the reports page. You can change the scaling to make it larger, and you can change the font here. And this is how you would create a custom transcript report using the reports tool in the ThinkWave system. Thanks for watching.